Alright, hi class. I am not gonna be here today, so we are gonna be going through the notes on this video. Make sure you are copying everything down. If I'm ever going too fast, feel free to pause the video to catch up. But yeah, let's get started. So here's what we're gonna do first. So what I'm gonna ask you to do is I posted the warm-up on Google Classroom. It's a Google slide. Make sure you open that up and then do that. We will go through the answers tomorrow on that. Okay, so here's what we're going to do today. We are going to be talking about the last type of transformation, which is going to be translations. I think these are the easiest types of ones because it's just basically you're just basically moving that graph up, down, left, right, so on and so forth. Okay, and then we are going to be, after this, we're just going to review, and then our quiz will be on Friday over rotations, reflections, and translations. So we're almost there. Okay, okay, so what we're going to talk about today is just what a translation is and how to do it. So when you talk about translation, it's just basically moving the graph up, down, left, or right, okay? What translations are also known as, they're also known as a slide, because you're sliding it around, okay? And so because of that, we're going to use this something called coordinate notation to represent how we use the translation. Okay, so here's how I'm going to start this, okay? I'm going to write it down and then I'll break it down to what it means, okay? I'm going to start off with x comma y and an arrow. So we've done this before, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to have x and then I'm going to have this sign. It's going to be a plus or minus sign. It's going to be plus or minus h, okay? Then comma y plus or minus k, okay? So what that plus or minus represents is like telling me which direction I go in. So like for a minus, it would probably be going left or down. Okay, for a plus, it would be going right or up. Okay. Okay, so let me break down what this means. We don't know what h and k is. So what we're talking about h, we're talking about the horizontal shift, or it determines how much we go left or right. Okay. And then finally for k, that's going to be down or up. Okay. One thing to know about translations is another way of writing it is you can also write it like this, like capital T, and then like in lowercase they'll have like plus or minus h, comma, plus or minus k. They mean the same thing, it's just written in a different way, okay? Okay, so when you're moving left or down, okay, that means you are going to be subtracting, okay? Or if you're moving up or right, that means you're adding, okay? So we either go in the positive or negative direction based upon what I have, okay? All right, so let's look at this. So like if you're looking at the graph on the right, on the left, you're always going from the letters to the primes. You never go the opposite way around, okay? So it's always from A to A prime, B to B prime, and then C to C prime, okay? You're going to move it the same distance, so it should be the same exact size, okay? Okay, so let's practice a couple of these. If I wrote too fast, feel free to pause it now, okay? Okay, so what we're going to do is actually we're going to use this notation up here and write it in that form, okay? So what I'm going to start off with is for number 1, it says 6 units to the right and 2 units down, okay? How am I going to do that? Well, I'm always going to start off with, I'm going to start off with x comma y and an arrow. That's always how you start it, okay? If I'm going 6 units to the right, that means x is changing. So it's going to be, this is going to be x, okay? You're going to add 6 to x since you're going to the right. Then you're going to put a comma, and it's 2 units down. That's going to be dealing with y's, and since it's down, you're going to be subtracting. So it'll be y minus 2. Okay. And that's it. Okay. And the next one. Okay. So make sure you're reading it right. 3 units up deals with y first. Okay. And then 4 units to the right deals with x. Okay. So it's going to be x comma y. Make sure you put it in the right order. It's 4 units to the right. So it'd not be x plus 3. It would be x plus 4. Okay. Making sure I get that order right. Okay. And then finally, you're going to have y plus 3 since it's up 3. And that's your answer. Okay. Let's have you guys try number 3. So pause this video and try number 3. Okay, so for number 3, check your answer. You would have x comma y. Okay. It's going to be 7 units to the left, so that's x, and then 1 unit up deals with y. So it's going to be x minus 7, comma, y plus 1. And that's it. Okay, so that's what the last one that looks different, but it's not harder, okay? When I'm talking about 5 units down, you have to ask yourself, is that dealing with x or y? It's going to be dealing with y because it's that vertical direction, okay? So what I'm going to start off with is x comma y. Ask yourself, is anything happening to x? And in this case, it's not. So I'm actually just going to leave x alone, and then I'm just going to add, or I'm sorry, subtract y minus 5. Okay, so since nothing's happening to x, you don't have to add or subtract anything, okay? So yeah, that's coordinate notation, and that's what we'll be using for here on out. Okay. Alright, so obviously we can always look at a graph with this, okay, and do that. Okay, so here's what we're going to look at next. It says it's similar to what we've done before, we're just now translating, okay? So the first part we've done before, graph the pre-image, that means you're just graphing these 3 points, okay? So when I'm graphing those 3 points, I'm going to have 1, comma 4. I'm going to label that as A, okay? Then you're going to have negative 2, comma 5. That's going to be B. Okay. And then finally C is going to be 0, comma negative 1. Okay. And then connect the dots. So that's your pre-image. That's the image you start off with, okay? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do next, okay? You're translating. So how am I going to do this? Well, when it says you're translating 2 units down and 3 units to the right, I'm going to move each one of these points in that direction, okay? So this is what I mean. If I'm starting off with A, I'm going to count 3 steps to the right first. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, okay? Then from there, I'm going to go 2 units down from there, 1, 2. And once I've done that, that becomes my new point A prime, okay? Make sure you erase your little loopies, okay, so it's not like a messy graph, okay? You're going to do the same thing for B and C. So for B, you're going to move it 1, 2, 3, and then 2 units down, 1, 2. And so that would be B prime, okay? Sorry, guys. Okay. And then finally for C, sorry, I'll let go. Okay, you would be moving it 1, 2 to the 3 to the right, and down 2, you'd be this point down here. Okay, and then just connect the dots. So if you notice, the size nor the shape changes. You should not have a size or shape change. Okay. Alright, so then just from there, you're just going to tell me, okay, what those new points are, okay? So starting off with A prime, okay, make sure you go from the origin. The origin is here, okay? So A prime is going to be moved 4 to the right and then 2 up, so it'd be 4, comma 2. Okay. For B prime, okay, you would be moving 1 to the right and 3 up, so it's 1, comma 3. Okay. And then finally, for C prime, you would be moving 3 to the right and 3 down, so it would be 3, comma negative 3. Okay, that's one way of doing it. In a second, I'll show you a different way. Okay. Alright, so then finally it says write an expression to represent the translation. What I'm really asking is write this in coordinate notation. Okay. So for coordinate notation, you have x comma y and an arrow. Okay. x, you need to think about, okay, how many steps am I moving to the right or left? It says 3 units to the right, so I'm going to add 3. And then comma, I'm moving 2 units down, so that would be y minus 2. That's your answer. Okay. This is just one way of doing it. Okay. I'm going to show you the more algebraic way to do it. And then you can choose which way you prefer. Okay. Okay. Alright, let's try the next one. Okay. So notice kind of the directions change. Okay. You're now given the fact that this is in coordinate notation, and you have to graph the image. Okay. Alright, so here's what I'm going to start off with. It's going to be starting with the same idea of graphing these 3 points, okay? And that's going to be your pre-image, okay? So when I graph those 3 points, I'm going to have -1, -4, okay? And that would be D. I'm going to have 3, -4. That would be E. And then F is 3, 2. Okay, connect the dots. It's actually a right triangle, even though it doesn't look like it. Sorry guys, I'm like stringent about this stuff. Okay, there we go. So that's actually a right triangle. Okay. Alright, so here's what we're going to do is before I actually like graph these, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to find the points first, and this is how. This is an equation that you can use to find your new points, okay? So what this tells me is the following, okay? Is for every x value, you are going to subtract 3. Okay? So let's do that first, okay? So if I'm finding D prime, E prime, and F prime, okay, I'm just going to take my x values and subtract 3 to them, okay? So looking at D, I have -1 for my x value. I'm going to subtract 3 from -1. You get -4, okay? I'm going to do that for my other x values, okay? So for E, it's at 3 for x. You're going to subtract 3 from 3. You get 0, okay? And then for F, okay, you're looking at, okay, F is at 3. Subtract 3, you're going to also get 0, okay? So that's for x, okay? You're then going to look at y values. Your y values, you're going to add 6 to. Okay, so now just repeating that. So if I have -4 for my first point, I'm going to add 6. I would get 2. Okay. Do the same thing for E and F. So -4, add 6, you would also get 2. And then for F, you have 2, add 6, you get 8. Okay. And from there, those points, you can now just graph. Okay. Alright, so graphing those points, I would have -4, 2, D prime. E was 0, 2. And then F is 0, 8. Ooh, did I go? Yeah. It's going to be all the way at the top. Okay. And then connect the dots. Okay. And that's it. Okay. So then part C, it's going backwards. It's asking, write a description of the translation. I'm just asking how much are you going left, right, up, down. So the x minus 3 at the top tells me I'm going to go left 3. So you're just writing in words. And then y plus 6 tells me I'm going to go up 6. Okay, so that's just writing the description. Okay. And then your final question is, it says, is the pre-image and the image the same size and shape? Well, looking at my 2 triangles to the right, first, they're the same shape. They're 2 triangles. Are they the same size? Well, the answer would be yes, because when you're just moving an object, does it mean it changes size? No. If I move across the classroom, I'm the same size as I was on the podium. Okay? So, yeah, we have that. Okay. Alright, so the last part is going to be, like, given, like, a translation. We have to use coordinate notation to decide, okay? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to be just talking about like how do we use coordinate notation. So how we do this is like this, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 2 points with the same letter. So let's say in this picture I choose A and A prime, okay? You have to go starting at A and go to A prime. You cannot go the other way around, okay? So doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start at A and I'm going to count how many steps I need to move left or right. Okay, so it's going to be left 1, 2, 3 to align with that A prime. Left 3 means I'm subtracting 3. Okay, and then from there I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. Down means minus 4. So here's how I'm going to write this in coordinate notation. X, y, arrow. Okay, you're going to have X minus 3 and then Y minus 4. Okay, first go left, right, then go up, down, okay? And that's it. All right, and the next one's kind of hard to tell, but if you kind of notice, it's an overlap. So what I notice is that there are two trapezoids on top of one another. Do you guys see how generally these two are in the same location? You're just essentially moving it, okay? So if I notice this point right here is A prime. So chances are this point over here is A. Okay, you can assume that's fine. Okay. Alright, so then going from A to A prime, I'm just going to count how many steps. I'm moving right 1, 2 first. So that would be plus 2. And then finally moving down 1 would be minus 1. So then X, Y, you would have X plus 2, Y minus 1. Okay, and that's all you have to do. Okay, let's do this. Alright, so the last part is given a point, given the formula, find me the image or pre-image, okay? Okay, so here's what I'm going to say, is the way these are worded is that you're asking yourself, if you are trying to find the image, you are given the pre-image, okay? So like looking at number 9, it says, what is the image of 5, 3? You're asked, what is the image? You're given, this is your pre-image point, okay? So, how am I going to figure this out, okay? Well, if you notice, okay, this equation up here, you start with your pre-image. How do you get your image? It's by that equation right there. So, if I know X and Y, which in this case I do, X is 5, Y is 3, all I'm going to do is plug it into that formula X plus 12, Y minus 7. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have 5 plus 12, okay, X plus 12, comma, your Y value, minus 7, okay? And so your image coordinate, 5 plus 12, is going to be 17. And then 3 minus 7 is negative 4. That's your image coordinate. Okay. Let's try another one like that, okay? So let's look at number 11 really quick, okay? It says, what is the image? Okay, that's what the question is. You're given the pre-image. Okay, so same idea. X is negative 1, Y is 2. You're plugging it into that formula X plus 12, Y minus 7, okay? So it would be, let me do it in the same color, okay? It would be negative 1 plus 12, comma, 2 minus 7. And then solving that, you would have 11, comma, negative 5. And that would be your image coordinates. Okay. Okay, we're going to switch it up a little bit, okay? So what now I'm going to look at is, okay, finding the pre-image given the image, okay? So now these are different, okay, different. So it says, what is the pre-image? That's what you're asked to find. You have to ask yourself, like, what are you given? If you're finding the pre-image, you're given the image, okay? Here's how I want you to imagine it. Think about going backwards from here, okay? So instead of, like, adding 12 to X, instead, I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to subtract the number 12 to X, okay? And then instead of adding 7 or subtracting 7 to Y, you're going to add 7, okay? So it's essentially backwards, okay? So to find your preimage, it's going to be the same setup, but then switching the signs. So it would be 0, instead of minus or plus 12, it would be minus 12, comma, instead of minus 7, it would be plus 7 to negative 6. Okay, and that's going to find your preimage. Okay, so doing that, you would have negative 12, comma, 1. Okay, I know this is tricky, so I'll go through it more tomorrow, but that's the idea. Okay, all right, let's do the same thing down here. So what is the preimage given the image? Okay, so same idea. When you're given the image, you want to do the opposite as what you did above. So subtract 12 and add 7. Okay, so you're going to do negative 2 plus 12, comma, 1 plus 7. Okay, or I'm sorry, it should be, oh, bad mistake. It should be negative 2 minus 12. Okay, all right, so doing that, negative 2 minus 12, negative 14, and then 1 plus 7, 8. So that's your pre-image coordinates, okay? Alright guys, so I know that was kind of quick, but if you have any questions, I will be back tomorrow as Miss Corcoran's there, okay? So what your homework is going to be that translations worksheet. Make sure it's done by tomorrow. I will go through the answers tomorrow, okay? But other than that, you guys can sign off, and I will see you tomorrow.